Back to Hannity. So as the Gaza conflict rages on and anti-Israeli bias continues to flow through the mainstream media, but it's not just the pundits. No, even Hillary Clinton got in on this act. Take a look at this.
The problem is, and this is something, I'm not a military planner, but Hamas puts its missiles, its rockets in civilian areas. Part of it is that Gaza is pretty small and it's very densely populated. They put their command and control of Hamas military leaders in those civilian areas.
All right, that's not all. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi seems to think that Hamas is, in fact, a humanitarian organization whose charter, as I remind you, calls for the destruction of Israel. Watch this stupidity.
We have to support Iron Dome to protect the Israelis from the missiles. We have to support the Palestinians and what they need. And we have to confer with the Qataris, who have told me over and over again that Hamas is a humanitarian organization. Maybe they could use their influence to
the U.S. thinks they're a terrorist organization, though. Correct to you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is absolutely chilling. Here with reaction, Fox News strategic analyst, Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters. Colonel Peters, the reason that they fire the rockets from schools and hospitals in densely populated areas is because it is a densely populated area? Is that your understanding, that they're a humanitarian organization whose charter calls for the killing of Jews and destruction of Israel, and the Qataris who fund Hamas?
Oh,
help me out here.
It is indisputable that Hamas is a humanitarian organization in the fine tradition of humanitarian organizations such as the Nazis and the Black Hundreds. I mean, what on earth? I mean, well, let's deal with Hillary first. Hillary Clinton. Hey, remember, Sean? She was our Secretary of State of the United States of America. Guess what? Gaza was on the radar back then. Israel was still on the radar. And she doesn't have any idea how large the Gaza Strip is. Sean, the Gaza Strip is just over 4 times the size of Manhattan Island. Yeah. In other words, there's a fair chance that Hamas could have found a few sites from which to launch rockets that aren't immediately adjacent to schools or hospitals or aren't in the middle of playgrounds. Hamas is doing this on purpose. I mean, Hillary Clinton, her naivety, the ignorance, should disqualify her from being anything more than a small-town mayor, I suppose. But it's really disgraceful.
I am embarrassed that my country, this is evidence of a deep moral corruption, that we can't see who the good guys are here, who the victims are here, and who the bad guys are here. The ones that are committed to an Islamic caliphate that are calling for the destruction of an innocent people in an innocent country, they're the bad guys. We ought to be standing with the good guys, the ones that are the victims of 3,000 rockets, of kidnapped children, of tunnels being, literally dug into their country. Those are the guys that need our help. But we seem to be on the wrong side here, Colonel.
Yeah, well, I'm 100% with you on that. I'm 100% with Israel. But I think you're slightly wrong about one thing.
Help me out.
When you talk about it being moral corruption, moral corruption implies a certain level of intelligence, of the ability to make conscious decisions, whereas Nancy Pelosi seems like this stupid automaton, for God's sakes. I mean, let's look at what she said. We must confer with Qatar, with the Qataris. The Qataris are the #1 funder. They've replaced the Saudis as the #1 funder of extremist organizations throughout the Middle East, not just Hamas. The Qataris, they play us like a bass fiddle. People in Washington, and some on both sides of the aisle, have this illusion, this persistent illusion, that somehow we can chummy up to these Islamist regimes and things will be wonderful. And Nancy Pelosi wants to talk to them, and when even the Egyptians,
even the Saudis,
and the Saudis, even the Saudis are
they're
against
more
Hamas.
supportive than we are right now.
And by the way,
let me ask you this.
Sure.
Let's assume that she's never read Hamas's charter or doesn't read a newspaper. Let's assume that about Nancy Pelosi. Let's assume she's ignorant, and let's just look at the facts as they exist on the ground, and that is that it is Hamas that kidnapped 3 students and killed them. It's Hamas that fires thousands of rockets into Israel. It's Hamas that have dug the tunnels into Israel. It's Hamas that is dedicated to the destruction of Israel. You have to be beyond dumb to not get this.
Well, it's also Hamas that is setting up its own people as human shields, using them for propaganda purposes. And by the way, all viewers should understand that those figures about Palestinian casualties, they come from Hamas-backed organizations. We have no idea how many Palestinians have really died. But you know, we do have some good statistics on the lesser evil, the Palestinian Authority. You know, when's the last time any of the journalists now in Gaza weeping over the Palestinians covered the expulsion of Christian Palestinians, even from Bethlehem, as part of the purge of Christians throughout the Middle East? I mean, Hamas is evil. It's proof of the banality of evil. Israel is a force for virtue, justice, civilization, decency, and goodness, and so much of the global media, unaccountably,
Colonel,
is siding with Hamas.
Isn't Hamas, Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad, Muslim Brotherhood, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, aren't they all one and the same? They desire a worldwide caliphate, the destruction of Israel, and the death to Jews around the world. Isn't that their stated goal? And everybody must convert or they will be killed. They are infidels. Isn't that what radical Islam is about?
Death to Jews and death to Christians. And again, Washington and both sides of the aisle, to a degree, will not face up to the fact that in Middle Eastern Islam there is a sickness right now that has perverted the religion grossly.
Modern-day Nazis.
All these factions competing to see who can kill the most Christians, kill the most Jews. I mean, again, the Obama administration doesn't care about dead Christians, dead Jews, but gosh, they're really worried. We want a ceasefire to rescue Hamas.
Ceasefire?
No ceasefire, Sean. No ceasefire. Wipe Hamas out. Let me use one more Russian phrase, because Russian's an expression language. Unичтожить как класс. Wipe them out.
Amen. Thank you, Colonel. Appreciate it. Coming up.